The Tennessee Titans, one of the problems they've had this season, bad field position, both offensively and defensively. Second worst when they get the ball, second best for their opponents when they get the ball. And that's one of the reasons they are 0-4. Indianapolis is going to get the ball. TJ Rushing is back to receive. He's going to run back kickoffs and punts tonight. And Rob Baronis will kick off for Tennessee. So the Titans are 0-4. They've played only one home game here the second week of the season. They lost to Houston, and away we go on this Sunday night from Nashville, Tennessee. Rushing from the goal line behind Silva. Cuts inside and is taken down up at the 23-yard line. Here are the Colts starters.
Peyton Manning, University of Tennessee.
Joseph Adai, Louisiana State.
Reggie Wayne, the U. Pierre Garçon, Mountaineer.
Austin Collie, Brigham Young.
Dallas Clark, University of Iowa.
Tony Hugo, Arkansas.
Ryan Lilja, Kansas State.
Jeff Saturday, North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
Mike Pollock, Arizona State. Ryan Deem, Northern Illinois.
And right off the bat, two injured Titans. One of them is Michael Griffin, and he's on the right, and that would be very significant. Pro Bowl safety, who also plays on special teams, he gets up. But Craig Stevens, who would be the number 3 tight end, is the man who is still down on the field.
Well, you can see Craig Stevens coming in on the left side, and they are just going to run into each other. And friendly fire, as it's called in this league. Oftentimes, some of the biggest hits happen when two defensive players try to make a tackle at the same time. And that was a heck of a collision to start this game, and the last thing in the world that the Titans need with all the injuries they already have.
Well, Griffin, as I said, was a Pro Bowler. Also, Vincent Fuller is already hurt, and he is out. And Cortland Finnegan is hurt as well. And you've got Peyton Manning on the other side. So they still work on Craig Stevens as Griffin flexes his neck. That's Craig Stevens, who was shaken on the opening kickoff, who is still down. Tight end and special teams, the former second year with the Titans out of the University of California. Picked in the third round last year by Tennessee. One more look at the play with both Griffin and Stevens hurt on the play.
Well, the NFL has done all they can do to try and make these kickoff plays as safe as possible. As Stevens gets to his feet, they've eliminated those four-man wedges this season, and now at most allowed a two-man wedge because of the high-speed collisions that you see on that play. And nice to see the Colts players giving him a round of applause as he got up as well. And he's trying to figure out where he is right now.
Yeah, but at least he's able to walk off the field, because when somebody's down on the field as he was for the better part of 3 minutes. A scary sight. Peyton Manning, and there it is, the first 4 games, the numbers, and he's done it all without Anthony Gonzalez, except for part of the opener, who figured to be the number 2 man behind Reggie Wayne, and the guy taking a lot of the receptions that Marvin Harrison used to make. On first down, Manning will go right to the air and throw, and it'll be caught up at the 28-yard line. He loves to go to Dallas Clark. For Dallas Clark, his 27th reception of the season. And as usual, of course, with the Indianapolis Colts, they go no huddle after a gain that time of 6. Griffin is in the game, so he was shaken on the opening kickoff, but he's back in at his safety spot. 2nd down and 4 from the 28-yard line. And now Joseph Adai, and he's not going to go anywhere. So Indianapolis will face a 3rd down and 3. Kyle Vanden Bosch, number 93, makes the stop.
Well, Javon Hayes going to just hang in there now, right here. Anytime you're playing against this team, you got to hold in against that double team, and if you can do that, now you have a chance. 3rd down, make Peyton make a play. That's exactly what they're trying to do. Get them to 3rd down and take their chances.
They put a die in the slot. They empty the backfield. You got Garcon wide to the right. Manning stepping up, feeling the pressure, throws, hits a die, and that'll be a first down. They needed 3, and they got 6. They split them out. They put him in the slot. Harper makes the tackle, former Colt. First down of the game.
Titans come out with a little 2-man coverage just to try and get some pressure here on Peyton. They do. They flush him out of the pocket. And really, Peyton barely could get his arm into that throw. He just sort of wristed the thing out there, and it was good enough for a first down.
From the 35-yard line. A die, swinging to the outside. These two teams love to run to the outside. He's run out of bounds by Harper. Let's take a look at the Tennessee D.
William Hayes, Winston State University.
Javon Hay, Peabody College by way of Vanderbilt.
Tony Brown, Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Kyle Van Bosch, Nebraska.
David Thornton, North Carolina.
Stephen Tulloch, North Carolina State.
Keith Bullock, Cuse.
Nick Harper, Fort Valley State.
Chris Hope, Florida State of the 90s.
Michael Griffin, Texas.
Jason McCourty, University of Rutgers.
So the two young corners in tonight. Looking at number 18, who goes deep down the sideline and incomplete. The coverage is good that time. Harper was on top of Garcon, and the pressure on Manning was put on by 96 Kevin Vickerson. Third down.
Well, the inside Kevin Vickerson is going to get some good pressure right up the gut. And for Peyton Manning, if they can get close to him with a 4-man pass rush, it allows them to stay back in the 7-man coverage. They're trying to bore Peyton Manning. They want him to try and challenge them down the field and try and make big plays. You can see Garcon on the outside saying, I've got Harper, give it to me.
You don't see Manning on the grass very often. He's been sacked only twice this season. 3rd and 7. And the pass is to Clark, and the tackle is right there by McCourty. So there is your rookie out of Rutgers, who stops Clark before he can get the first down. They get 1 first down, and now they're forced to punt.
Well, they played almost the exact same coverage every time. They're just going to allow these rookie cornerbacks out there to sit in a cover 2 coverage. And if Peyton wants to try and drop one off to the flat, it's not any sort of man coverage, not a tough situation. Just make the tackle, force a punt.
The rookie Pat McAfee will do the punting. Mark Jones, recently re-signed, is going to let that one bounce into the end zone. And the Tennessee Titans will have the ball for the first time tonight. Kerry Collins coming out to lead them at the 20. A little less than 3 minutes into the game in Nashville. 0-0. From the 20-yard line, Kerry Collins goes to the air and swings it out to Chris Johnson. And Johnson will be taken down after a gain of 4 by Antoine Bethea. Kerry Collins last year wasn't the starter on opening day. It was Vince Young. Vince Young was knocked out of the game eventually by an injury. Collins wound up getting the action for the rest of the day and then led them into the playoffs in a 13-win season. So he has the job this year. But the big question is going to be, if they lose tonight and lose next week in New England, then what do? Do you go to Vince Young is the question. 2nd and 6. Here's Johnson swinging to the outside, and Chris talking on the open about a lot of Johnson tonight. Flag on the play.
Holding number 45, offense, 10-yard penalty. It's still 2nd down.
Ahmad Hall, he is the fullback with the hold.
And that's what they cannot do this evening. They cannot make those kinds of mistakes, because then they end up in these pass situations with Freeney and Mathis coming after him. The fullback Hall right in the middle of your screen is going to end up with the hold. And now you're in long yardage, which is really sort of what's been happening to this Titans offense this year. They are not equipped to handle these kinds of situations very well, although they have pass blocked Freeney and Mathis pretty well the last couple of games.
2nd and 16. They'll run a draw with Johnson. Johnson leading the league in rushing coming into the weekend. Takes it up to the 31-yard line, setting up a 3rd down and 9 for the Titans.
Oh, Chris Johnson just so electric, and you can see how quickly he can move those feet. He has been especially effective this year on these draw plays, and doesn't matter even if the first hole is not there, he can sort of hop his way through and come up with about 8-9 yards on it.
He's kind of an all or nothing back, leads the league coming into the weekend in runs of 10 or more yards, but has lost yardage or had no gain on a third of his carries. 3rd and 8. And that pass is caught by the tight end, Bo Scaife, and he will get the first down before he's tackled by Clint Session.
Well, Kerry Collins happy to get Bo Scaife back in the lineup. He got injured on that opening night we did against Pittsburgh, but he has been their big play receiver. And you see Tim Jennings come up and just not able to make the play. But the Colts did come with a blitz there. They don't blitz that often, but they have been blitzing more this season.
A little bit more with the new defensive coordinator, Larry Coyer, and now you've got Lindale White for a gain of 1. Let's take a look at the Tennessee starters.
Kerry Collins, Penn State. Chris Johnson, East Carolina.
Ahmad Hall, the one and only, University of Texas.
Justin Gage, University of Mizzou.
Nate Washington, Toledo Sky High School.
Bo Scaife, the real UT.
Michael Roos, Eastern Washington.
Eugene Amano, Southeast Missouri State Indians.
Kevin Mawai, Louisiana State University.
Jake Scott, Idaho.
Dave Stewart, Mississippi State.
Bruce went to the Pro Bowl. Mawai's been to a few. And that is a fumble after Algie Crumpler loses the football, and it is run back by Keontae Dawson on the turnover. And so the Indianapolis Colts get a big early break and will set up Peyton Manning with a short field. Bethea hit Crumpler, and that created the fumble.
Well, we talked so much about Bob Sanders, but for my money, Antoine Bethea has just been making plays like this all season long. Leading tackler on this Colts team, gets his helmet right on the football. Big, strong Algie Crumpler. No match for that hit. And once again, the Colts defense comes up big.
There's Bethea, and there is Sanders, who hopes to play after the bye week next week. Has seen no action yet this season, but the turnover gives the Colts the ball at the Titan 23, and it's the inside handoff as it's Adai chugging his way inside the 20 for a gain of 6 yards.
There's the Colts defense that really has been playing so much better this season. They had a pretty tough night against the Wildcat and the Miami Dolphins, but since then their run defense has just been so much better. And really that's where this team has struggled in the past. They've always been pretty good against the pass. They have trouble shutting down the run.
On the subject of scratches, Javon Curse not active tonight for Tennessee as there's action up front there. He is a healthy scratch. Walt Anderson is tonight's ref.
Encroachment, number 97, defense, 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
Tony Brown, one of the guys
It's 1st down.
filling the spot of the departed Albert Hainsworth in that big offseason move. Hainsworth to the Redskins.
Watch them. They're going to key the head of Jeff Saturday as his head comes up. They think they've got a snap count red there, and Tony Brown anticipated a little too soon.
Manning a 1st down out of the shotgun at the 12-yard line, flanked by Adai. Garcon comes in motion. Manning throws, and that's almost intercepted. He tried to get it over the middle to Gian Robinson, and that's Stephen Tulloch who almost had the pick. It'll be 2nd down.
Well, sometimes you have to try and find your secondary receivers. Gian Robinson really is just nothing more than a blocker, and it showed a little bit there. This one kind of wobbles out, and Gian didn't quite go for that one the way you would think a big, tough blocker might. They had all the stars on one side, came back to Gian Robinson, and he didn't make the play.
3 receivers now set to the left. Collie, Wayne, and Clark. The rookie Collie along the line of scrimmage. And out they go on the tree, and the pass is incomplete. The branches of the tree intended for Austin Collie, but Manning throwing it away out of the back of the end zone, making it 3rd down and 10. Vandenbosch put the pressure on.
Well, Tony Hugo filling in for Charlie Johnson, who I thought was really playing well for the Colts. It's going to be interesting to see how Kyle Vandenbosch, their best pass rusher, is going to be able to do against Hugo instead of Johnson. There's Charlie Johnson there, who really was playing exceptionally well this year.
3rd and 10. And Manning throws, and that's caught by Adai, and Adai is going to be pushed out of bounds at just about the first down marker. Keith Bullock is there. Peyton signals first down. They'll take a very close look, and in the meantime, you've got helmets locked here. And Tony Hugo is the Colt. Walt Anderson comes in, and that's one way to get them apart, with Tony Brown on the other end.
You don't see things like that very often.
No.
And it makes you a little uncomfortable when you do, watching something like that. Looks like it came up just a bit short for the Colts.
And the official sticks tonight are on the far side, so they only have to bring them out about 2 feet. And they're going to be that much shy of a first down.
Sometimes a coach will ask for a measurement as a think about it. You know, it buys you a little, even though it's right there, you can say, well, I just want to think about it for a minute and see what happens. And the Colts, you know, they're not one of those pounded in there short yardage kind of teams. They tend to throw it more than they run it when they get down in these short yardage situations.
0 for 2 thus far on fourth downs, about the only thing they haven't done well in 2009. So the Colts line up to go for it. With 7:51 to go in the opening quarter. Indianapolis trying to cash in on the turnover. Manning, if nothing else, will try to draw them offside if he can. They snap it. He rolls to his right. He throws, and it's caught for a touchdown by Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne, one of the best receivers in the league. And now, of course, with Harrison not playing, Reggie Wayne, the clear #1, beats the rookie out of Hawaii, Ryan Mouton.
Simple little pick play down inside, and all you're really trying to do is force that inside coverage guy to run over the top. Not illegal at all, even though you talk about it being a pick. Just very well done. It's a well-coached football team. They understand you can't make contact, but you can rub off and force that defender to go wide, just enough for the touchdown.
Vinatieri for the point after. Manning now with 343 career touchdown passes, all alone in third place behind Favre and Marino on the all-time list. 7-0. .59-degree night in Nashville on the banks of the Cumberland River, Music City, USA. 7-0 Indianapolis, cashing in on the turnover. And Pat McAfee to kick off. He's a rookie out of West Virginia. He's their punter, and Vinatieri still their place kicker, but McAfee has the kickoff chores, and Mark Jones will bring it back up to the 17-yard line about halfway through the opening quarter in Nashville. The Colts undefeated, looking for 5 in a row, up 7-0. There it is, 1, 2, 3 in the history of the league. Favre had 1 today at St. Louis. Manning has 1 tonight. I think Marino got shut out today, right, Chris?
You never know. Unless he got on the golf course, then he probably picked up a few bucks.
So there it is, Favre, Marino, and Manning breaks that tie with Tarkenton, and they throw it to Hall underneath, and Hall picks up about 7. Let's take a look at the Colts defense.
Robert Mathis, Eastside, McNair High School.
Antonio Johnson, Mississippi State.
Ed Johnson, Eastside Cowboys.
Dwight Freeney, Syracuse.
Taiwan Hagler, Cincinnati.
Gary Brackett, The Armor.
Clint Session, Pittsburgh.
Jacob Lacey, Naaman Forest High School. Melvin Bullock, Naaman Forest High School.
Antoine Bethea, the real HU, DeMecca, Howard University.
Gerard Powers, Auburn.
Notice Lacey and Bullock went to the same high school. And on second down, that is a hit and a half by Clint Session. No gain for Johnson. Third down and a long 2 coming up.
Right from the middle linebacker position. Every once in a while, you're watching a Colts film and you go, who was it that hit that guy that hard? And I quit asking the question. Every time you see one of those hits, you know who it is. It's Clint Session. He's just one of those explosive guys that has the ability to knock people backwards.
third-year linebacker out of the University of Pittsburgh. 3rd down and 2. And Kenny Britt, their #1 draft choice out of Rutgers, who had a 100-yard receiving day last week, can't hold that one. 4th down, and they'll punt.
Well, I tell you, even the guys that have been doing well, and Kenny Britt, goodness gracious. I mean, that's a routine, and that's been happening a lot. You know, Kerry Collins took a lot of heat in that Jets game for throwing 13 straight incompletions to end that game. I went back and watched that tape. He must have had 5 or 6 drops, dead cold drops, during the course of that finishing of that game.
Reggie Hodges, who was picked up after Craig Hentrick was lost for the season, sends that one down, and running into his own man is rushing. The ball is loose. The Titans jumping around as if they have it, and the indication is they do. And so the Titans get a much-needed early break, with Jennings going back there and banging into rushing, losing the ball, and the Titans come up with it. Fair catch called for. You still have to make it. And then Jennings, trying to block his man, goes right into rushing.
A great job that time by Mouton, who simply got out of the way and let Jennings do the damage. That's not fair catch interference if it's your own guy there running in to make the play. And I tell you what, it is a huge break for this Titans team. I mean, you know, you lose 4 in a row, and Peyton comes out and they're turnover and score, and you need something, and they got something.
This is only the 2nd time this season they've started a drive in opponent's territory. And it's a short gain underneath as Algie Crumpler, who lost the ball the last time he had it, and that led to an Indianapolis touchdown, makes the catch. That's a gain of 6. 2nd down and 4 for Tennessee.
And it's so important for Kerry Collins to be able to stand in the pocket. When you watch him on tape, so many of his mistakes come when he tries to move out or he gets forced off the spot. He is a pure pocket passer. When he can stand in that pocket and make throws, he can do it about as well as anybody.
2nd down and 4 with the ball at the 32-yard line. Johnson will turn it around. You see a flag, which you'll often do after somebody goes the other way, because that line has to do the job for so long that normally somebody's in on a hold. Here's Anderson.
Illegal block in the back, number 68, offense. It's a 10-yard penalty. It's still 2nd down.
A hold, a block in the back, whatever it takes, and that's Kevin Mawai.
Well, you called it right. Kevin Mawai, the center, is just going to pull out and try and make a play here. But as soon as this thing turns back around the other way, he gets a little discombobulated. He tries to make a play and knock him off, but that's clear cut. Good call. And once again, as they start to get something going, they get a break and end up with a penalty.
That sets up a 2nd down and 14 now.
You heard Kerry Collins there say flip it, Dinger, and what he saw was probably Dwight Freeney over on his left side, and he's probably thinking, if we're going to help somebody, let's help left and not help right. So when he says flip it, he's probably talking about the protection here.
We're talking about Dinger. That's Mike Heimerdinger, the offensive coordinator, on 2nd down and 14. And Collins will throw, and that'll be caught about 6 yards shy of the 1st down by Bo Scaife. And Melvin Bullitt is in on the tackle.
You can see they're going to slide this protection over here to Dwight Freeney's side, which after we watched him in that Arizona game, I'd say is a good idea. That guy's about as dynamic a pass rusher. Now, he does have a little bit of the quad injury, but he is one of those guys that you're going to take care of him first and take your chances with the other guys later.
Well, just did stay in bounds after he juggled it and got his knee down. 3rd down and 4 now. They run Freeney out of the play after the spin move, but the coverage is good, and Gage can't make the catch because he's covered by Gerard Powers, the rookie out of Auburn. So it is 4th down.
Well, we talked about all the young cornerbacks for Tennessee, but these young corners for the Colts have just been doing great. Take a look on the slot there, Gerard Powers, who has won this job. And there was no question that Kerry Collins said, if we get an opportunity to pick on one of the young corners, if everything else is equal, we're going after him. Well, that time Gerard Powers was up to the test.
49-yard attempt for Rob Baronis. And that kick is good. Barones makes it a 4-point Indianapolis lead with 4:20 to go in the opening quarter.
Pretty good defensive stand there by the Colts. After that turnover, you really got nothing else.
Right, took a Barones 47-yard field goal. Now 2 yards into the end zone rushing. Who lost the punt when he was banged into by Jennings to the 21. Well, Peyton Manning, as hot as he's ever been. He's got some new kids on the block, though. Marvin Harrison not playing this year, so he's got Pierre Garçon, his second year out of Mount Union. Austin Collie is a rookie out of BYU who went on a mission for 2 years, and he has been very good. Donald Brown was their #1 draft choice out of the University of Connecticut, and Brown is right now in the game. So Peyton with some new buddies.
Some pretty good buddies, too.
So far, so good. Brown, a lot like a Dye. Jim Caldwell saying he does all of the same things that a Dye does, and it's up to a Dye when he wants to come out of the game. We leave it up to him, the fake to Brown, and then Manning will throw, and that's caught. And then, of course, you've got one of the old standbys, and that's Dallas Clark, who makes the catch for a first down, tackled by Chris Hope, and that is good for a gain of 24 yards.
Well, anytime you're coming down the middle, that means that middle linebacker is going to have to get his head around, because we were talking to Nick Harper, who used to be on this Colts team. He said, boy, if you see Dallas Clark start to turn his head, snap your head around, because I guarantee you the ball's already in the air. They just executed that perfectly.
And we take a look at Donald Brown, who had a big, long reception 2 weeks ago when we had Indianapolis at Arizona. One of the reasons they picked a Brown, and people were a little surprised because you do have a Dye, but a Dye has been a little injury prone. And the way things are going in the NFL these days, you do need 2 good backs.
And they have the same kind of back in both those guys, but believe me, the Colts aren't picking anybody that can't catch the football.
Second down and 5, and Manning is hit as he throws, and then it is intercepted. It is picked off by Keith Bullock. And Bullock will bring the ball back to the 35-yard line. That time there was pressure put on by Jacob Ford, and that's a look you don't see on Peyton's face very often.
Well, Charlie Johnson's been playing left tackle. Now it's Tony Hugo, and he's going to get beat here. Right around the edge by Jacob Ford, who gets the hit on Manning. The ball floats, and they come up with an interception. And right now we're seeing this Titans defense do what they've done in the past, and that's turn the ball over and come up with big plays.
And one of the reasons that Hugo lost his starting job to Charlie Johnson, plays like that.
Well, and he was inactive last week. He's been struggling with a knee injury, and you just have to wonder, how healthy is he? Because now Charlie Johnson can't go.
From the 34-yard line, and now you've got Johnson cutting it back, and the speedy one gets rolled down after a gain of 4 by Antoine Bethea. And a little extra.
Yeah, Antonio Johnson, and at the tail end of that play, didn't think that Chris Johnson was down. The whistle was kind of blowing, and Antonio Johnson kind of gave him the old, what's the wrestling move, right? You know, the suplex or something, you know, just slammed him down. But I can see what he was thinking. You know, he was pretty close whether or not his knee was down.
Second down and 6. Johnson again. And can't get to the outside, and that's a nice play with a flag coming in at the end of the play by Melvin Bullitt.
Holding, number 45, offense. 10-yard penalty, still second down.
That's already the second call on Hall, the second penalty against him, and Johnson was slow in getting up.
Almost the exact same play here. You'll see Hall coming across here and making this block, but he does sort of get his arms out and grab. There's Clint Session, and when you stick that arm out, you're going to get that call. Good call by the officials.
And then Johnson goes down, and he came up limping, and so he's on the sideline. Lendale White is in the game, and it's second down and 16 and a whistle.
Boy, oh boy.
False start, number 12, offense. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
Justin Gage.
Just atrocious so far is what this Titans offense has been. I mean, they have been set up in some great opportunities, and every time they get a chance to make a play, they have another penalty that drives them back. This team desperately needs some confidence, and they're not getting it right now out of their offensive bunch.
So they go from 2nd and 6 at the 30 to 2nd and 21 at the 45. And White can only pick up a couple of those, and then you've got some extracurricular stuff here with Jake Scott, the ex-Colt, engaged with a couple of his old buddies. And Johnson ready to come back in.
And that call by Mike Heimerdinger did not sit very well with the home folks. Backed up 2nd and long, and hand went off up the middle, and they didn't like it. They really need to come out of here with something. They needed about 10 yards to have a chance at a field goal.
3rd and 19. And now you've got another flag. And Collins will throw, and that time it is caught. And making the catch over the middle is Bo Scaife. He's tackled at the 27-yard line.
Interesting decision here now. I think you're trying to take this play and kick the field goal.
It's short of the first down. Penalty's going to be against the Colts. Fisher has the option. Free play on the offside. And Walt Anderson's going to come over and discuss the options with Fisher. So if you have a 5-yard penalty, it's still going to make it, and you decline it. It's going to be 3rd and long.
Offside, number 79, defense. The penalty is declined. It'll be 4th down.
You're trading a 4th down and 2, which is what you're accepting, as opposed to, I think it would have been 3rd down and 14.
But you're playing at home in a division game against Peyton Manning, and you have a chance now to cut it to 1. It's the right decision.
Absolutely, because it lets Baronis kick a field goal from 43 yards away. He's already hit from 49 to try to make it a 1-point game in the final minute of the opening quarter. And that one is 7-6. Indianapolis on top with just 28 seconds remaining in the opening quarter.
Well, so far this Tennessee defense has been pretty good. Last year when they were 13-3, allowed about 14 points a game. This year 27 points, but this defensive line has found some new energy out here tonight. Maybe has a little something to do with Hugo playing that left tackle position, but when they can get pressure with their front four the way they've been doing it tonight, get Peyton Manning knocked around a little bit, all of a sudden we have a game, and you see it so often. Division opponents know each other. They know how to work against this offense much better than some of the teams the Colts have been playing.
7-6. With Tennessee kicking off here. 28 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Baronis rushing from a yard in. Good coverage, and the ball is on the ground again. And they're going to say that it was down, and it will not be Tennessee's ball because the official comes in to mark it down at the 18-yard line. Mark Jones hit him. Here comes the ball. If his elbow goes down before the ball goes out and you saw somebody flashing through, then he would be down.
On the field, the runner was down by contact. It's first down.
Crowd doesn't like it, but that's a great piece of officiating right there. It's a tough call, but absolutely the correct one. Total control of the ball until he hits the ground. Ball's out. Perfectly called.
And obviously Jeff Fisher taking a close look, as is the coaching staff upstairs. And he knows that it's a wasted challenge and that the call was dead right.
A lot of pressure on those coaches upstairs to get it right as well, and they did by telling him not to throw that flag.
That would have been a 3rd turnover for the Colts in this quarter. And Adai can't get out of the backfield as he's spun down by 95, William Hayes. And the Titans at the moment looking like anything but an 0-4 football team. That's a loss of 7.
And you knew it was going to come to this, didn't you? The last time the Colts played in a division game this year was 14-12 against Jacksonville. They've been blowing everybody else out, but Tennessee has their ticket.
Titans a desperate team and playing like it. 7-6 into the quarter. Sunday Night Football back after these messages. Second down and 17 for the Colts. As we start the second quarter, a little dump underneath to a die. And he'll get taken down at the 14-yard line. Third down and long upcoming.
Kind of looks like the Tennessee Titans out here tonight, doesn't it? I remember this team that went 13-3 a season ago. This team that had the best regular season record and looked like they might make a little Super Bowl run, and they've been playing like it tonight.
Well, there are teams that are winless and look like they should be winless. Tampa Bay, St. Louis, Kansas City, but these guys are on the other end of the spectrum. And now Adai is going to try to work his way for a first down and almost get there, but it will be 4th down and 1 before Keith Bullock makes the hit.
I'll tell you, they did stop them short, and they're going to punt the football and go on with it. Tennessee, they're playing one of the hottest offenses in all of football. Peyton Manning's on one of the greatest streaks of his career, and so far tonight they've gotten turnovers, they've gotten the ball back for their offense, and now it's time for this offense to get in gear.
Pat McAfee, the rookie punter. Hunter Smith was their punter for so many years, then went to Washington. Good high deep kick. Mark Jones at the 17-yard line. And Jones with a decent run back of 14 yards to the 31-yard line after a 56-yard boot. Tail on the tape. Take a look at Freeney and Roos going at each other. Roos with that big height advantage, and then Freeney with that great spin move and the tremendous speed from his defensive end spot. Then you've got Mathis and David Stewart, who is 6'7" and 318. And again, it comes down to speed. Those bookend ends of the Indianapolis Colts. Sprinters.
Unless you're running the football at them.
Right.
And then they've got to play another game.
1st and 10. And you got a flag thrown. Johnson can go nowhere. Already 5 penalties on Tennessee tonight.
Holding. Defense. It's a 5-yard penalty. First down.
And finally, the first penalty against Indianapolis. First accepted penalty.
You know, Chris Johnson's exciting, but sometimes you just have to hit this thing. These defensive ends are going to come up the field, and Stewart does a nice job turning him out. There's a hole. You got to go, man. You got to hit that thing right there. And he's trying to bounce and skip around and hop. Sometimes you just take that 4 or 5 yard run and hope it breaks out of there. Right now he's dancing, and he came out of the game. The coaches were not happy on that sideline.
Lindale White is the running back, former USC Trojan. Lindale up to the 43-yard line. Last year, I mean, Johnson broke in with such a spectacular rookie season, and White didn't see as much action as he had the year before, but still it was a great 1-2 punch. Then White went out and lost a lot of weight this year. Hasn't played nearly as much this season, Chris, but one of the things that Jeff Fisher said, and he's right, I mean, the way Johnson's going, how do you get him out of there?
Yeah. How'd Lindale White lose all that weight?
Well, he stopped drinking tequila.
Yeah, Jeff Fisher wasn't buying that, though. He said it was In-N-Out burgers.
Right. That was according to White.
Yeah.
Looking for a Patrol commercial, maybe. And this is White again.
But I tell you, I do like what I've seen from Lindale White this season. He's sort of been the goal line specialist when they get down inside the 10-yard line, scores a lot of touchdowns for fantasy league guys. But he's also going to pound it up in there. And I think that after what they saw from Chris Johnson, they said, well, let's see what happens if we just try and play some power football. We saw the Dolphins just blow out the Colts off the line of scrimmage. Let's give Lindale a shot.
3rd and 1. Collins on 3rd and 1, too deep for Gage. He'd gotten behind the rookie corner Jacob Lacey, so they go to the air, incomplete, forced to punt.
Not too bad that time by Jacob Lacey, who has played his way into the starting lineup. gets a shot, little double move. He actually gets fooled, and they just end up missing this play. But they're going to take their shots at these young corners. But there they were, 3rd down and 1, and they're throwing a deep ball. They're trying to get a little creative on the offensive side. That one backfired.
Reggie Hodges. T.J. Rushing is back there, who already coughed the ball up once because Jennings ran into him. That's a low snap, but Hodges gets it away. And then he almost fumbled on the kickoff, calls for the fair catch and secures it at the 20-yard line. 11:44 remaining in the opening half in Tennessee. 7-6 Colts. Andrea talking at the top tonight about the rookie corners. Jason McCourty, 6th-round pick out of Rutgers. Ryan Mouton, who's out for the moment, out of the University of Hawaii, 3rd-round pick. And you've got Cortland Finnegan hurt. And that's a big blow to them. He went to the Pro Bowl last year. 1st down from the 19-yard line. The fake to Garcon on the end around. Then underneath, it is Brown. And that's a lot of movement and a lot of action and a lot of faking and no gain. Flag down.
I think you had a block in the back.
Illegal block in the back, number 78, offense. Half the distance to the goal, it's still 1st down.
That's the right guard. That's Mike Pollock.
Well, Mike Pollock came over there, and they were doing all this tricky stuff, sort of faking here and faking reverse and throwing screens, and Pollock just came out and drilled the guy right in the back. So once again, a little bit of good fortune for Tennessee's defense.
Half the distance makes it a 1st and 19 from the 10. Brown on a draw. And the rookie out of Connecticut, 1st-round pick, stopped by Nick Harper. These two teams really know each other because they've been 1-2 in the AFC South for so many years right now, and they know each other inside out.
And Peyton Manning wants to hear inside out. There's Nick Harper, who used to play for the Colts, and he said he was stunned when he got here. They had 90% of the calls, 90% of the audibles, of the signals, or whatever Peyton Manning was doing. And he said, you know what? I found out it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. You still have to stop them.
And vice versa. Each team knows the other as well as you can. 2nd and 14. And that's caught up at the 20-yard line. Caught by Clark. Tackled by Tulloch. And it will be 3rd down and 8 for the Colts.
You know, Jeff Fisher, to follow up on that, was telling us that this crowd noise sometimes works against him. He said, we know what Peyton Manning's calling. We understand the signals, but our guys get so loud in here, we can't hear it either, so it doesn't end up helping us.
3rd and 8. Four-man rush. Time for Manning. And time to find the open man, and that's the rookie Austin Collie out of Brigham Young, tackled by McCourty. Collie, 6 catches last week against Seattle and a touchdown.
Well, that time Tony Hugo much better. He did get some help from Donald Brown here, a little chip coming on the outside, and that's what you do anytime you need a little help. And Peyton Manning, when he gets that much time, he's going to find a hole in that zone.
And this time it's Collie, and they set him up behind a screen, and Collie for a gain of close to 7 up to the 42-yard line. Tackled by Thornton. And a flag is down. Walt Anderson's had a busy night. Whoever made the call said, wait a second.
They're consulting with Pierre Garcon, it looks like. No.
So Walt at parade rest while he waits for the call.
There is no foul for pass interference from number 85. The ball had already been touched. It's 2nd down.
That's a good bit of officiating. One guy saw it one way without seeing the ball being touched, and the other official comes in and says, wave it off.
Yeah, and what they're talking about when you're throwing those screen passes, the receivers a lot of times will go down the field, and it's sort of bang, bang, whether they make contact first or not. Garcon on the outside, and there you see the catch being made right about the same time as contact. That was pretty close.
2nd and 1. And Joseph Adai up to the 46-yard line for a Colt 1st down.
You know, it was interesting talking to Peyton Manning. He said, this team probably tests my patience more than any other team. They are going to sit back in that soft cover 2 shell so they can take care of those rookie cornerbacks. They don't want to get them in one-on-one coverage with Garcon and all the different wide receiver weapons that they have. But you can see how the 2 corners are up, 2 deep safeties. So against this, you want to run the football. And Peyton Manning understands, even though I want to throw it, I have to be patient and run it.
A 1st and 10. Play fake buys time and enables Reggie Wayne to get open along the sideline before he steps out of bounds for a gain of 12 and a 1st down in Tennessee territory.
It's pretty amazing, though, that Peyton Manning has some sense of when it's going to be single high safety and one-on-one. I think that's the first coverage all game long that McCourty had Reggie Wayne one-on-one, and we saw Peyton audible at the line of scrimmage. Whatever he saw, called the comeback out there. The guy sometimes is pretty amazing with those audibles.
2nd catch for number 87, and a dive to the 38. We were talking, Chris, to Manning yesterday. You know, the one thing about Peyton, that long career, he's only been in 3 systems in his life. 1 in high school, 1 at Tennessee, and the 1 here, period.
Yeah, and how happy was he that Tom Moore came back to be his offensive coordinator, or senior offensive coordinator, as they call it now. But even Tom will tell you, I don't call in plays, I call in suggestions to Peyton Manning.
Used to be concepts.
Yeah.
2nd down and 7. Manning. And that's caught by Clark. Clark reaching down, making the catch, and knowing exactly where the marker was, picks up the 1st down.
The one thing that all the Titans talked about was the incredible accuracy of Peyton Manning. Watch this throw. This one gets in by a fingernail. There was only one little 6-inch window that ball gets in there, and Peyton Manning hit it. He is just remarkable. He's on one of those streaks right now where he can throw it into that outside edge of the plate and make it work.
From the 30. Fake give. Manning is under pressure, but he's still able to throw it over the line and complete it over the middle to Joseph Adai.
Well, Tony Brown now is probably the best of the pass rushers. And he's right out here in this 3 technique. You're going to see him end up getting a push right back in the face of Peyton Manning. That's what Albert Hainsworth used to do, and that's what they've missed without him this season, which they haven't been able to set up those outside edge pass rushers.
2nd down and 4. 4-man rush, 7 back, slant to Wayne. And how many times have you seen that? 1st and goal at the 5-yard line.
The guy's amazing. Every time they go single high, they burn him. This time you're going to see they're going to rotate here, so that means they've got one-on-one on the outside, and Peyton doesn't miss it. It's really, I don't know what he sees, but he sees the rookie one-on-one. You see he's no match for Reggie Wayne, and every time he's checked to that, he's had it.
And Keith Bullock looked like he pulled something, took himself right out of the game, and went right to the locker room. And running in that direction where Bullock would have been is Adai, who gets the ball inside the 1-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and goal with 5.5 to play. And there goes Bullock back to the Tennessee locker room.
And that would be a big loss right there. That time the Colts showed a little strength running the football, and Hugo's going to get up and make this block.
68.
That really set this one off. Good job securing the double team and then getting up on that next level.
Eric Foster, who's a defensive lineman, comes in, and he sets it as the fullback. Joseph Adai is the tailback. 2nd down and goal. And they give it to Adai, and he goes right through the middle with a flag thrown at the 3-yard line. So for the moment, Adai has a touchdown. Walt Anderson says.
Offside, number 96, defense. Penalty has declined. Result of the play is touchdown.
Vickerson was offside, so the pass to Wayne sets up a 1st and goal, and then Adai marches it into the end zone.
Yeah, they love this trap play down here on the goal line. They're just so effective with it. They set it up on the outside, come across the other way, knock them out of the way, walk in, touchdown. One of their favorite plays down there.
Vinatieri for the point after. And that's a 90-yard, 12-play drive for the Indianapolis Colts that took almost 7 minutes and puts the undefeated Indianapolis Colts up by 8. That's Clyde Christensen, who now has the title of assistant head coach, working with the receivers as well. Another of the fellows who was with Tony Dungy at Tampa Bay and then came to Indy, and then you've got McCourty, and when you got Wayne going against the rookie, as was the case right there, running a slant, setting up a touchdown, it's 14-6. Kickoff taken in the end zone and downed there. And the Titans down by 8. With a little less than 5 minutes to go to the half. Have the ball at the 20 when we come back.
And the key thing here is you can't give Peyton Manning the ball back. We saw it last week in that game against Seattle. He only needs about a minute to go the length of the field. You're going to get the kickoff to start the second half. Field goal here would be huge.
Collins stepping away from the pressure. Got away from Freeney. And then nobody's open, and he just flips the ball backhanded out of bounds.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
His offensive line's going to appreciate the fact that he didn't give up a sack there. Larry Freeney's going to shoot the gap down inside here. That was their run-stopping defense there. It's the one thing that Larry Coyer has asked these pass rushing ends to do more of this season. He says, guys, let's stop the run first, and then let's go have a little fun. So a lot of times you'll see them on early downs stunt those ends down inside to try and take away the run game.
That was ruled an incomplete pass. And this is Johnson, stopped by Bethea. Actually, it was a pretty good play by Collins, realizing if he stepped out of bounds, it would have been about a 2-yard loss, so he just slung it toward the line of scrimmage. No grounding on the play, and it was incomplete. Right now, it's going to be 3rd and 3.
Yeah, same sort of thing. You're going to see him crash hard down inside. The linebackers will loop around, and they're trying to hit Chris Johnson, but that time he just ran right by him, so Michael Rue said, okay, fine, we'll go for a little ride.
Go look in the locker room, as you see there, getting an IV for cramps, took himself out of the game on the Indy touchdown drive. 3rd and 3, and Collins hangs in the pocket and finds the open man, Nate Washington, the former Steeler who was their big off-season acquisition. They brought him in to give him some room to maneuver down the field. A 23-yard gain and a first down.
Yeah, and finally a big play out of this offense. And Nate Washington, he's the speed guy, so you have to respect him outside. That's what they wanted him to do. He's dropped some key passes already this season, but we talked about Kerry Collins. You allow him to stand on the spot and deliver the ball, he can throw that one with anybody.
Start of the year with a sore hamstring, so he's been limited. That's his longest reception as a Titan. And now Johnson will get thrown back after he reaches the 47-yard line. Powers in on the hit.
Yeah, that was well described there, Al. It was thrown back, and that's what happens to him sometimes. You know, Lindell White hits that pile, and it moves forward 2 yards, and you're 2nd down and 5. You know, Chris Johnson hits that pile, and he goes the other way, and it's 2nd down and 7, and there is a significant difference in this league.
Throwback is always good for the defense.
Yeah.
2nd and 7, the ball is at the 47-yard line. Collins checks it off underneath, and then it's dropped out in the flat. Powers was there with Johnson, and Johnson may be starting to look upfield an instant too early, dropping it. 3rd down and 7. A lot of drop on target passes this season for the Titans.
Yeah, 2nd most in the National Football League this year, and you see that one. And what it does, it just throws you off schedule. If Chris Johnson catches that ball, he might make somebody miss and pick up 10, 12 yards. Now it's a very key moment in the game because you don't convert here, you're punting it back to Peyton with about 2 minutes plus to go, and that's tough.
And now before a 3rd down and 7, the Tennessee Titans will take a timeout. 14-6, Colts. There was Bullock back on the bike as he gets ready to come in defensively. But right now they're trying to convert on a 3rd down and 7. And that pass is caught. And then trying to get the first down. And let's see where they spot the ball is Nate Washington. And they're going to put the ball right at the 40-yard line. And of course, it's easy for Nate to signal first down. But will the officials is the question. And Walt Anderson says it is a first down.
Boy, sometimes football comes down to just one man against another man, and Washington hooked this one up about 2 yards short of the first down, and he knew it. He had to turn and fight his way up the field. Clint Session gave him a great shot, but he spun out of that thing and picked up the first down. Big play by Nate Washington.
Johnson is the running back as we tick down to the 2-minute warning. They run Mathis out of the play, and then it's Crumpler making the catch, and he just does get tripped up before he can get up ahead of steam at the 35-yard line. 2-minute warning, 2nd and 5 when we come back. 14-6, Indianapolis. Second and 5. Collins throws, and that's caught. That'll be a first down. Scaife makes the catch. First down at the 28-yard line. Tennessee with 2 timeouts remaining.
And a good job here. They're going back to the huddle. They want to milk this clock as well as still try to score. Plenty of time here.
Yeah, when you have Peyton Manning on the other side, you want to get everything out of the udder.
You're darn right. Don't give him any time.
From the 28. Collins, and he'll throw that one away. Chased by Freeney that time.
Well, we saw Dwight Freeney with this spin move inside, but this time the guard, Eugene Amano, is going to end up coming out here and picking it up. That worked against Ruse, but Amano got just enough of him to allow Kerry Collins to get out of there. It's a good offensive line, really is. They've done a nice job against Freeney and Mathis, not just so far here tonight, but in the last few games that they've played.
2nd and 10 from the 28-yard line. And Collins going for the end zone, and it is incomplete. And the crowd wants a flag. Justin Gage wants a flag. Jacob Lacey with the coverage. Gage pleading his case, but no yellow. 3rd down.
How about Jacob Lacey, a free agent, undrafted this year, now the starting cornerback, times this one out perfectly. There's no interference. That's just a tremendous defensive play. They've been so impressed with him. Remember now, Kelvin Hayden's out, Marlon Jackson's out, so they're being forced to be tested with these young kids. And I tell you, they said, we don't care. We think these guys can play, and they are proving it tonight.
Lacey giving away 6 inches. 3rd down and 10. Here come the Colts on a rare blitz, and the pass is incomplete. Tim Jennings covering Gage on the play. The Colts blitzing more than ever this year with the change in defensive coordinators from Ron Meeks to Larry Coyer.
Yeah, you're going to see all the action coming in here now, because this is what they're trying to do. Not only are they trying to free up those guys, but they're also trying to create more one-on-one situations for Freeney and Mathis so that they're not always getting double teamed. When you blitz, obviously, more one-on-ones for everybody across the board.
Here's a 46-yard attempt for Baronis, who's hit from 49 and 43. And that one is good.
But a minute 4 left for Peyton.
Yep, 64 seconds, and not that he even needs them, 3 timeouts.
Well, we saw him last week right before the half go about, I forget what it was, 78 yards in 79 seconds, one of those kinds of things, and one of the most efficient 2-minute drills that I've seen in a long time. You know, they're so efficient. They do things like when a guy catches a pass, instead of handing it to the side judge, the receiver will run it all the way to the umpire, because the umpire is the guy who actually places the football down. I mean, they rehearse everything with this 2-minute drill.
That is paying attention to every detail. Last 3 road games, there are the numbers for him. A perfect rating is 158 and change. And so Peyton Manning, great at home and just as good on the road throughout his career for the most part.
I don't think the crowd noise bothers him, do you? He said, you know, as he said the other day, he says, I always wanted to just once go out there when the crowd was really going crazy, just kind of wave to them to be quiet and see if I could trick them. You know, no, they might get confused.
Right. He was talking about in Indianapolis, it's almost too quiet, because he watches the television tape, and it gets so quiet in Indianapolis when they have the ball, you can hear everything. And of course, that's of some benefit to the opposition when they listen to it.
Well, and don't forget that this guy now is from the University of Tennessee. So when he shows up here, everybody tells him the same thing. Hey, listen, we love you, but you're going down tonight, you know. So they don't know what to do with Peyton Manning, to cheer him or cheer against him. Big hero around here, though.
Bob Baronis' kickoff. TJ rushing from the 4-yard line. Flag thrown at the 15-yard line.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on the receiving team, the formation of an illegal wedge, number 67. After this is to the goal, first down.
They changed that this year. You can only have 2 guys in the wedge.
Well, we talked about it earlier. They're trying to do this for player safety. Let's see if they end up with a 3 or a 4-man wedge here. They're going to call that a 3-man wedge, and that is an unsportsmanlike conduct call. And the officials, we met with them before the season. They said, we know guys are going to try and fudge this thing on us. And that time they got the call.
2.5-man wedge. So a 5-point lead. First down. They'll start from the 7-yard line. And Manning will begin with Clark. Clark up to the 15-yard line. And another flag here.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 93, defense. Contact to the quarterback's knees, 15-yard penalty, first down.
That's Kyle Vanden Bosch.
Well, obviously, after the Tom Brady injury, they're going to protect these quarterbacks. Vanden Bosch going to spin down after he gets chipped right into the knees of Peyton Manning. And they are not going to allow you to spin and make initial contact at or below the knees. These guys are the money of this league.
Now Manning hit as he throws, and a guy trying to get out of bounds, and he does at about the 37-yard line.
I'll tell you, though, I've seen Peyton Manning getting himself up off the ground more in this game than I have on anything on tape this season. So we've seen it before. San Diego back in the day when they had success against this offense, they were hitting Peyton Manning, and the Titans are getting there tonight, just a little late, though.
Second down and 4 from the 36-yard line. Manning hit as he throws again. Here's a dive up to the 39-yard line. Indianapolis will, at this point, take a timeout. Vanden Bosch put the pressure on, and Indianapolis uses its first timeout.
Joseph Adai is going to get a chip and slow down Kyle Vanden Bosch just a little bit here, but then Vanden Bosch still gets to Peyton Manning, and afterwards he can't believe he didn't get the sack. He's in there, he's going down low, and he looks up and he says, I got him. I don't got him. It drives you crazy. You can't get to this guy. You can't get to Peyton. You can't get to Eli. These guys are just so hard to sack. They're 1-2 in the league, fewest sacks per pass attempt. But they are getting some hits tonight.
You know who loves that is Mama, Olivia, right?
No doubt.
When your 2 boys have only been sacked 4 times in 4 games, that's pretty good. 3rd and 1. And a dive, and they'll pick up a first down. They should use the timeout here, and they do. So at this point, the Colts picking up the first down. Manning needs about 25 yards to make it a makeable field goal for Adam Vinatieri. You know, you made a good point earlier today. We were talking about, you know, the Colts and everybody saying how great they are. You know, the last 2 games, you don't know what Arizona is. You still don't after today. They beat Houston. Seattle, not very good last week. And then, you know, they beat Jacksonville on opening day. They had to beat Miami despite having the ball only 15 minutes. So tonight is a bigger test for them, I think, even though Tennessee is 0-4.
And a division game's always a test, especially on the road.
First and 10 from the 42-yard line. And now Manning throws, and the guy will get out of bounds. And another penalty. And that time Vanden Bosch came in. And did he get there late is the question.
Well, Jacob Ford, too.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 78, defense. Late contact to the quarterback. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, those are just killers. You realize they've given up 30 yards on this drive on the 2 penalties?
And Jeff Fisher is smoking. You're seeing Ford there on the outside. Hits the hit and then sort of backs into him a little bit. He turned his back. Really, it looked like Vanden Bosch kind of hit him from one side and knocked him into Ford, and they got the call.
From the 39 now. Colts have 1 timeout left. Play fake. Over the middle. And he hits Collie. And Collie bangs his way through the defenders with some bad tackling into the end zone for a touchdown. 39 yards. So the Colts, moving slowly and methodically, are the beneficiary of 2 calls, and those are killers. That's 30 yards of penalties. They go 6 plays, 93 yards, touchdown. 48 seconds total.
Remarkable. The guy is remarkable, and you can't give that guy gifts. You give him gifts, you pay. Seattle learned that last week, and he comes right back and does it again. Remarkable.
Vinatieri for the point after. And that's just a killer. 93 yards. Well, the crowd doesn't know what to boo here. The penalties, the team, everything. Life.
Austin Collie taking the place of Dallas Clark essentially on this route, just against that cover 2, and Keith Bullock, a linebacker, is supposed to run with the wide receiver. Well, that was a mismatch. Peyton Manning saw it, and he got out there and made the play. Reggie Wayne, what did he tell us this week about Austin Collie? He says, on my off day, sometimes I'll go in and watch some film. He said, by the time I get there, Austin Collie's already seen 5 hours worth of it. His wife quizzes him at night before they go to bed, takes the playbook and actually quizzes him. He says that she knows the offense better than I do now.
Peyton says he's always saying, what if, what if, what if. Here was the roughing call with Vanden Bosch, and then the dual hit there, Ford coming in as well. And that, of course, drew the ire of Jeff Fisher, to be followed by a touchdown pass.
Yeah, and Jacob Ford did. He gave him a little shot with his shoulder, and they got him. But that is the second week in a row now, with about a minute to go in the half, that Peyton Manning has taken his team. Most coaches, Al, when they're backed up after that penalty and had the ball, inside the 10-yard line there, they're going, let's run it 3 times, punt the football, and get out of here. But it's unbelievable. Peyton Manning goes that fast in a minute.
Right. And you can't make mistakes along the way. I mean, he's gonna pick apart your defense. You know that. And then you have 2 personal fouls. Mark Jones up to the 15-yard line.
You know, we joked about it, but it came true again. We were saying that, you know, the Titans kicked the field goal. That's great, but they leave a minute on the clock, and it's too much.
Too much.
Yeah.
And they even, didn't have to use all of their timeouts, just 2 of them. For Manning, we've seen him play better than tonight. I mean, this is not one of his 5-star performances. And then you take a look at the statistics. 20 out of 24, 200 yards and a half.
And what you admire is that basically the Titans have been willing to take some penalties to get some shots on him, and he hasn't flinched. He's hung in there and made the throws.
And the crowd will express its extreme displeasure, not only what's taken place tonight, but over the first 5 weeks of the season. 21-9, Indianapolis at the break. Back to Nashville to start the second half. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, and Andrea Kramer. Indianapolis 4-0 coming in, leading 21-9 against the winless Tennessee Titans.
3 touchdowns to 3 field goals.
And there's your 12-point difference. Tennessee to get the ball. McAfee's kick. And that will be down by Mark Jones. They'll take it at the 20, and we'll check in with Andrea Kramer. Andrea.
Well, Al, you know those 2 roughing the passer calls at the end of the half against the Titans for 30 yards? Well, in the tunnel at halftime, defensive coordinator Chuck Cecil was screaming at the referee, Walt Anderson, about the Jacob Ford hit. Now, Jeff Fisher told me that he feels that Ford was pushed into Manning. He said, I can't dwell on it. At least we're getting some good pressure on him.
Well, that's one way to look at it. Kind of a half full. Chuck Cecil is the defensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans. So right now that offense has to try to get them back into the game. And Chris Johnson picks it up to the 24-yard line. On the opening kickoff of the game, Craig Stevens was hurt, suffered a concussion. He was down on the field for quite a period of time, has been taken to a hospital for precautionary reasons. I understand his mom's at the hospital as well. But it was good to see at least he got up and was able to walk off the field with some assistance. Johnson gets stopped at the line of scrimmage. So that running game has been almost, it's been ineffective. There's no other way to put it right now. That's 7 carries, 27 yards for Johnson, 4 carries, 13 yards for White.
Well, and what they're doing is they're containing Chris Johnson. I mean, they're basically saying you can beat us between the tackles. Take your shot inside, but we're not giving you the outside. That time Dwight Freeney just took his guy Algie Crumpler and pushed him right back in and disrupted the whole play.
3rd and 6. And to the outside goes the pass, and the Colts are contending that they have the football. You've got Jennings there. You have Nate Washington, and it's Jennings who has possession of the ball for the interception. So Washington and Jennings in a tug of war as the ball got there, and Jennings wins the battle.
But it looked like it fell into Jennings' lap. When he was on the ground, Nate Washington had a shot at this thing, but then Jennings going to kind of get knocked to the ground, and he just pulls it right out of there. It's a little bit loose at this point, but Jennings gets it back.
Ruling on the field, the pass was intercepted. 1st down.
Great play by Jennings.
You see the ball come loose for a moment in there, but because Washington was right on top of him, and there certainly has been nothing so far that I've seen that would reverse this thing. But the ball does come loose at this point, so it's a free ball right there.
Right.
But it still looks like Jennings has it in his possession.
At the end, the official comes in. He has it. It's the pick. They give it to Adai now. And Adai is stopped for no gain.
And right now, Tennessee just cannot seem to get anything going with this passing game. And, oh, boy.
And Adai is still down on the ground. Joseph Adai, who's missed a lot of time over the last couple of seasons, is able to get up. Take a look here.
Yeah, it may have been his own guy there as he was going to the ground. A lot of times when one of those knees pop you as you're going down, yeah, you can see Mike Pollock there trying to avoid him and gave him a knee to the back of the head. I know some of the toughest hits I ever took were balls that I caught and got my hands pinned to my chest, and you end up with that head whip going backwards to the ground. Really hurts.
Donald Brown is the back, their #1 pick from Connecticut, while Adai is on the sideline. It's 2nd down and 7 from the 29-yard line, and Manning will throw. It's caught by Brown. Brown trying to get to the marker for the 1st down, and he's close. It's either a 1st down or 3rd and inches. And he's across the line. It will be a 1st down.
Well, I've really been impressed with Donald Brown. He was a 2nd-team All-American out of Connecticut, the Big East Player of the Year, rushed for 2,083 yards. And when you meet this young man, he is just pure class, very sophisticated, well-spoken, very nice young man.
1st down from the 20, the fake to him. Now it's Colley. Colley works his way to the outside, and he'll pick up 7 yards getting to the 13-yard line before he's tackled by the ex-Colt, Nick Harper.
Yeah, we're starting to see now Austin Collie really taking over this slot receiver role. And watch these offensive linemen jump out in front of this thing. The timing has just been extraordinary tonight, and it's really amazing when you stop and think about what they've done here in bringing in all these young receivers and incorporating them into one of the most complex offenses in football. Quite a tribute to the study habits of these young guys, Austin Collie and Pierre Garçon.
And a tribute to Bill Polian and a tribute to the scouting department. Harper is hurt on the play, so they're already minus Finnegan. Now Harper is shaken up. Injury timeout. Harper came in with sore ribs to begin with. Now he's out. Moving back to the locker room. So McCourty and Moots on the two rookies playing corner against Peyton Manning. Godspeed. Second down and 3. And that's batted down. And it was Kevin Vickerson, the 6'5" tackle. And Manning batting it down too.
Yeah, Peyton saw that thing hanging up in the air a little bit, and he did. Yeah, Kerry Walsh would have been proud of this one here. Watch this. Comes up, there it is, and not getting this pick on me, Nasser.
Manning had completed 16 consecutive passes.
Should have been 17. He should have just caught it.
Right. Like Farr's first ever reception or pass. Completion was to himself. 3rd down and 3. And now Brown. And Brown over the right side for a first down inside the 10-yard line, setting up a first down and goal.
Well, it's really remarkable to see how deep these safeties are still playing. That is sort of ultimate respect when they're back almost inside the goal line. But watch Ryan Deem right here get up on that linebacker and make the key block. You know, you have nothing you can do. If you don't play two deep safeties with those rookie corners, they're going to throw it all day, and if you do, they can take off and run the football.
Pick your poison. 1st and goal.
He sees something. He sees a safety creeping.
And he almost had a free play. Vanden Bosch came across unimpeded to the quarterback. You've got a couple of flags on the play. Kind of 2 penalties here on
offside.
Tennessee.
Number 93, defense, unabated to the quarterback. Half the distance to the goal. Still first down.
They got away with not getting a penalty on Ford with a face mask, I believe.
Well, Kyle Vanden Bosch was in the backfield, so they're going to blow that one dead. Just surgical almost.
Yeah, and then you saw Ford get the face mask with Brown after he got the ball. First down and goal from the 5-yard line. Inside handoff to Brown to the 2-yard line, and a flag at the end of that play.
Holding, number 78, offense. 10-yard penalty. It's still first down.
Mike Pollock.
Didn't see a whole lot here. We'll see if we can take a look at it on the replay. Yeah, got the hand out there and grabbed a little bit. Yeah, pretty good call.
And the runner goes right by him. 1st and goal from the 15-yard line. Manning quickly. Garçon inside the 10. Pierre to the 6-yard line. 2nd down and goal with 10.5 to go in the 3rd.
Well, they've really been so effective out there on the outside in that bunch formation. And a big reason why is that these receivers block. Reggie Wayne got down the field along with Austin Collie there and threw great blocks. We've seen that. We were talking to Reggie about his blocking a little bit the other day, and he said, you know, at the University of Miami, you don't block, you don't play. And so you learn, and he said he's actually been inspired by how these young guys have been blocking, and it's gotten him back to his roots.
2nd and goal. Off the fake to the end zone. Austin Collie with his 2nd touchdown of the game. There are times when this team looks unstoppable, and this is one of those times.
It's just remarkable. You're going to see they're going to step up. He'll turn his back and watch these guys. He knows he has to throw it in over the top, so he just throws a little lollipop to the inside over Austin Collie. He doesn't have a direct throw, but it doesn't matter. He knows that back end line is open, and he just lobs it in over the top. Brilliant throw.
Vinatieri for the point after. So give a Collie a lollipop. Then you're up 28-9. Mark Jones from the 1-yard line. Up to the 23-yard line. 9:46 left in the third quarter in Nashville. Colts up 28-9. Jim Caldwell, rookie head coach, 4-0, and right now a big lead in this one. And since 1970, since the year of the merger, the coach is starting 5-0. Chuck Knox did it with the 73 Rams. Red Miller with the 77 Broncos. Mike March taking over for Dick Vermeil after their Super Bowl win in '99, did it in 2000. And Josh McDaniels adds his name and picture to that graphic by winning today. And we will make room for Jim Caldwell later on tonight if he holds on to a 19-point advantage.
It was interesting that a recommendation by Kerry Collins about Jim Caldwell to Tony Dungy was why Tony Dungy hired Caldwell in the first place, and now is the head coach, and he can thank the recommendation by Kerry Collins.
And now he watches Collins throw, and that's caught by Washington. Collins was at Penn State in the early 90s under Joe Paterno, and Caldwell was on that staff, and before Caldwell left to move on, he got to work with Kerry.
That's exactly right. And Kerry was in the Super Bowl that took place in Tampa. Dungy was down there, and he wanted to hire a quarterback coach. He realized, and they had talked to Caldwell, he realized that Kerry Collins, who was there for the Super Bowl, had played for him. Went and talked to him. He said, Kerry wouldn't shut up about this guy's the greatest quarterback coach I ever had in my life. I hired him the next day, became the assistant, and now he's the head coach.
There was Jared Cook, and appeared to have been down as the whistle blew, and was. So there is no fumble. And then you talk about going back in time with people. The reason that Larry Coyer is the defensive coordinator for Indianapolis is he goes all the way back to when Caldwell was a player, and there is Coyer. Caldwell was playing at Iowa, and Coyer was coaching on the staff when Caldwell was playing. And then to the 40-yard line for a gain of 3. So you've got Coyer going all the way back to the 70s. And then when Caldwell got the job, the one thing he knew is he wanted Larry to come in as his defensive coordinator. Coyer had been at Denver and then had gone to Tampa Bay, and he brings him up from the Bucs.
Yeah, and he said the one thing that you knew about this guy was he was going to stop the run first, and that's what it was that Caldwell liked the most about him. He said you go back to even Denver when they were playing well on defense and stopping the run, Jim Caldwell was their coordinator.
And Chris Johnson pays the price after a short gain on that flip.
Chris Johnson may give it a no moss here pretty soon. He's been getting ripped pretty good on the outside, and I'll tell you, I remember watching the tape against the Miami Dolphins, and this Colts defense was getting just blown off the ball with that Wildcat formation. I said, oh boy, this is not going to be a good year for them defensively. Well, since that game, that was a wake-up call, and they have just simply turned it around, stopping the run, and it's allowed them to play safe in the secondary now with some of those young corners.
3rd and 3 from the 45-yard line. And here they come. They almost get to him. And then Collins throws it up almost for grabs and lucks out into Justin Cage being in a position to make the catch despite very good coverage. Frady that time forcing Collins back and back. It's a 7-yard gain and a first down.
Brady's got to be going nuts. How did I miss him here? He goes right through Ruse, throws Ruse into the quarterback, and just simply doesn't get there. And then Gary Collins throws up a prayer. Please. There you go. Yep.
48-yard line. And that is caught by Jared Cook. They really like Cook. Cook was one of the training camp sensations, a rookie out of South Carolina, third-round pick. They have Bo Scaife. He's their franchise player. The veteran Algie Crumpler. But this is a kid they look to really come on in the future and make a big splash. Meanwhile, you've got Melvin Bullitt, the Colts safety, who was down for a moment and now gets back up. And the official saying, look, we had to stop the clock for you, so you have to come out for at least one play.
One Melvin Bullitt I love, though. Here's a guy that filled in for Bob Sanders and has been playing like Bob Sanders. He really hits people. But to get back to Jared Cook that you were talking about, they are so disappointed. They thought he was just going to be a sensation in the league. Said we just have not seen the guy so far that we saw in training camp because of that sprained ankle, though.
From the 38 on first down. Collins jostled as he threw it, and it's incomplete. 2nd and 10. The crowd wanted a flag because Mathis came in and hit him.
Check out this move by Robert Mathis. A chip, a double team, a spin, and he still gets there. These two guys, they lead the world in sacks and strips, fumbles, and all the different categories that it's frightening. When you get behind against this Colts defense and they start just rushing the passer and not playing the run, good luck.
Leaving all those things and spinning.
Yeah, it's not fair.
Because Freeney perfected it, and now Mathis does it as well. 2nd and 10. And Johnson probes to the 32.
Wasn't it interesting talking a little bit to Dwight Freeney about his spin move and where it started? He said he was the postman in basketball, and they would put it in there, and he'd do that spin out of the post, and he got called for traveling all the time. And he said it just wasn't right. But in high school, they told him, you can't spin, don't spin. And then he got to college, they said, don't spin. And then he would do it in the game and get sacks, and he'd say, all right, nobody else can spin, but Dwight can spin because he was so good at it.
And now Mathis can spin as well.
Yeah, everybody's spinning.
3rd down and 5. And Collins' pass into traffic. Incomplete. Intended for Kenny Britt and Jacob Lacey, that the rookie. And, Bill Polian and that whole group, they've drafted so well. And then, they even go into the free agent market, the rookie free agent market, and come up with a kid who's good enough to play as much as he had over the first 5 games.
And Kerry Collins, that rush is starting to get there a little bit. You see him kind of fade out of that throw?
Yep.
And when he does that, he is not good. Baltimore got to him in that playoff game like that a season ago. He started fading away and making big mistakes.
Nothing to do but go for it on 4th and 5 in this circumstance. And that pass is no good. Intended for Washington, covered by Jennings. They turn it over on downs. Indy has the ball and a 19-point advantage. And you've got a full start.
Number 71, offense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Brian Dean. Jim Schwartz has been the defensive coordinator here. He got the Detroit job. So they elevated Chuck Cecil, and with the exception of Albert Hainsworth, basically the same guys come back, but like a lot of other folks right now in Nashville starting to come under a lot of fire as Brown takes it to the 33-yard line.
Talking to Keith Bullock about it, he said, Jim Schwartz, when he took over, that wasn't a comfortable transition time either. But the thing that makes this one doubly hard now is that this was a 13-3 team. This team had the best record in football a season ago, and they did it on the defensive side. After 4 games last year, they'd given up 46 points and were 4-0. After 4 games this year, they'd given up 108. So you're going to be under fire like that. But I tell you, Cecil is one of the hardest hitting guys that ever played in this game, so he's not going to give up.
2nd and 8, Manning. And it's dropped by Brown. When you look at their losses, Chris, they played well defensively opening night against Pittsburgh. Baronis missed 2 field goals, otherwise they might win that game. They didn't play well defensively against Houston, giving up the lead. Special teams really did them in the Jets game. And then last week they just went belly up against Jacksonville. And there it is. Nick Harper is now out with a broken right forearm. So you've got Harper out. Finnegan didn't play tonight. Rookies at the corners. Vincent Fuller, who plays a lot in the nickel, is also out. And Manning throws to the outside, and that's caught by Brown.
And no reason to send Peyton Manning a Christmas card this year. You already did. I mean, this was, as a group, as good a secondary as there was in the league last year. Cortland Finnegan, Michael Griffin, Chris Hope all went to the Pro Bowl a season ago. And Vincent Fuller, their nickel guy, was just outstanding. I watched him on tape against the Colts last year, and he had a great game. And when you don't have your horses, you're not going to stop Peyton Manning.
Pat McAfee, drafted in the 7th round out of West Virginia to become the Colts punter with his 3rd boot of the night. Mark Jones backs up. Vince Young was the starting quarterback when he came into the league, and for the first 2 seasons compiled a mark of 18 and 11. Right now on the bench, but the question is going to become for how much longer. 28-9 is the score. Indy has it up by 19. Tennessee with the ball from the 8-yard line, and Lindale White. You know, Chris, it's real simple at this point. You're going to be 0-5 after tonight. You go to New England next week against the Patriots and Tom Brady on the road. You then have a bye, so you're probably going to be 0-6. And then, I mean, the season's gone. Let's face it.
Yep.
So then what do you do? What do you do at quarterback at that point?
Well, I haven't seen any indication within that building that they think Vince Young's the answer. And if they thought that to the slightest degree, he'd be playing right now.
Right. That's Kenny Britt making the catch.
Yeah, and so now you have to start thinking, okay, Kerry Collins is getting up there and towards the end of his career, and if you don't think Vince Young is the answer, then the good news is you're losing a lot of games. Because now you're thinking about drafting a quarterback at this point, and it's a little unsettling. But at some point this season, they have to find out what Vince Young has. I mean, a winning record on a quarterback that young usually buys you a lot of opportunities. But the more you talk to the players and the coaches, there is no momentum for Vince Young in that locker room.
Well, that's White for a gain of 6. You know, it's odd because there are times when, for instance, when Tony Romo was at Dallas, and he was there for 3, almost 4 years before he got to play, you knew sooner or later you had to find out about Tony Romo.
Right.
And actually, they're still, in a way, finding out about Tony Romo. That's a different story. But with Young, you're right. They know what they have because he has started so many games for them. Now what do you have at this point? 2nd down and 4. And that's caught by Kenny Britt. But there's no question that you have to start thinking about, all right, you think about the future. You have to think about 2010 when you're 0-6. You can't say that in the paper. You know, as Herm Edwards said, you play to win the game,
right,
but you have to be thinking about 2010 and beyond.
And the question about Vince Young is always not his playmaking ability. We've all seen him scramble around and run and make plays. Can he beat you from the pocket? Because that is the NFL game. You know, we just have never really seen. Mike Vick came about as close as anybody else being a great athletic, run-around, scrambling. Steve Young maybe to some extent, but he was a pocket passer. And so coaches, until they see it happen, aren't going to feel like that's the answer.
And that's a sack for Dwight Freeney, who finally gets there.
Well, we talked about it before, but Kerry Collins, when he goes backwards, he runs into sacks. And you'll see him here step up and then go backwards. Well, Michael Ruse is trying to run Dwight Freeney past him, but when Kerry Collins goes backwards, he really is just killing his tackle. I mean, he got that sack. That was not that bad of protection that time by Ruse, and no matter what happens for Kerry Collins, you've got to step up. You cannot step back, and Dwight Freeney is smoking.
3rd down and 11. And there's a flag as Freeney came across the line. It's Kenny Britt. Incomplete. Walt Anderson has been on the mic all night.
Offside. Number 93, defense. 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
Walt Anderson paying after dues.
Well, this is exactly the way this Colts defense is designed. You have the great Peyton Manning. You sprint up and down the field on offense. You get a little bit of a lead, and you unleash these pass rushers. And it was kind of interesting talking to Freeney. He got hurt when he was put on the left side of the defense the other night. He said, I'm like a NASCAR guy. He said, I only turned left. I turned right and got hurt.
Yeah. He said, I only run the Indy 500. And that is almost picked by Jacob Lacey.
I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what this one was from Kerry Collins. He just sort of threw a moon ball out there, kind of lobbed it in there, and Jacob Lacey, I can't believe he couldn't catch that one, but
yeah.
See, he tried to sort of drop it in, I guess. Ugh.
Only Chris Everett could throw an effective moon ball. Reggie Hodges to do the punting. And a little "We Want Vince" chant starts up here. TJ rushing with the fair catch. Peyton Manning with 235 yards tonight, consecutive 300-yard passing games, all 4 games this season. And take a look at the top 3 with Favre, Marino, and Elway. Never did it. Warner had 6 straight games. Steve Young was 6. Rich Gannon had 6 when he was with the Raiders. And right now Peyton Manning with 4 to start the season. And he would need 65 tonight. And he'd get those easily if the game were closer. Might get it anyway, but for the most part you would think that they'll run the ball, but not here. Underneath to a dive for a very minimal gain. Tonight he passed Fran Tarkenton. He was in a tie with him after last week, and he went by Fran in passing yards. Now has 5th most, and he was very touched by a beautiful letter that he said he got in the from FedEx that was penned by Fran Tarkenton after last weekend. 2nd and 9. Clark. Really a face mask, and Clark is about 2 yards shy of the first down. And a penalty.
Personal foul, face mask.
Well, they did see it.
The defense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Yeah, you saw Clark's head turn to the right.
I don't know what the total penalty yards are tonight on the Titans, but it almost matches Peyton Manning's yards out here. Brandon Bosch, I give him credit. The guy's been playing his guts out all night long, but they grabbed the face mask there.
Used to be a 5-yard face mask at the 5 and the 15, and then they changed it. The face mask is a face mask, period. And there it is, 89 yards in penalties tonight.
And key moments.
Yes.
The key moment really was the drive right before the half, that 2-minute drill, and that was aided greatly by roughing the passer calls.
2 of them for 30 yards. 1st and 10 here from the 47. Peyton's going to let the clock run all the way down. Change directions, and we'll start the final 15 minutes of competition. 28-9, Colts at the end of 3. And Sunday Night Football from Nashville continues after these messages from your local NBC station. And they start the period with a 1st and 10 at their own 47-yard line. Manning tonight is thrown for 242 yards and 3 touchdowns. And looking for a lot more and going deep, and it's incomplete. Intended for Pierre Garçon, covered by the rookie out of Hawaii, Ryan Mouton.
You know, Dallas Clark has become one of those all-around players. We always talk about him as a receiver, and he's done such a tremendous job with that. But he also can block on the outside, and when you have players that are that versatile, we also talked about Reggie Wayne and his ability to block on the outside. Very complete players on this Colts team. They're asked a lot, and they deliver.
2nd and 10. McDonald. It's 6. 3rd down.
You know, I was asked a question the other day when we were at the Titans facilities by one of the Titans assistant coaches. He said, "Do you think he's the greatest of all time?" I said, "Al Michaels?" He said, "No, I'm talking about Peyton Manning." He goes, "I'm serious." He goes, "I know the championships and all that kind of stuff, but you just watch him play. Has there ever been anybody any better?"
Well, I don't think there's anybody who's ever played the first 4 games of a season any better than Manning this year. Guys are probably equal at 3rd down and 3. And the pass is caught almost on cue by Reggie Wayne. You know, Chris, it's so subjective. You're going to get an argument, you know, from Johnny Unitas to Joe Montana to Dan Marino to Brett Favre to Tom Brady. The thing about Manning, he still has a lot of years left. And he'll play, I think, probably as long as Favre.
And I think to be in that conversation legitimately, he'd have to win at least 1 more championship.
Right, I do agree.
I think he would have to be a multiple Super Bowl winner for me to be in the conversation, you know, with the Montanas and the Bradshaws and Marinos and all those, although Dan Marino never was, but
right. All time through 180 games, so Peyton right now in his 13th season, 1st in completions, 3rd in attempts through 180 games, 2nd in yards, tops in touchdowns and in wins through this point in his career compared to the other guys through 180 games.
You know who might have a chance to get in that conversation if he wins a championship this year? Old Brett Favre up there in Minnesota.
Yeah, back in it.
Yeah, in a big way.
2nd and 11. Caught by Austin Collie. So, you know, it makes for a good argument in a bar to, you know, to sit there and go back and forth. You know, who do you? And then there were, you know, people would say Otto Graham was the greatest of all time.
Well, we're at that bar point in time now, aren't we?
Yes, we are. This is the equivalent of being in the bar right now.
Yes.
28-9. By the way, why do they call it a barroom brawl? Did you ever say to anybody, "I'll meet you in the bar room"?
I never have.
No, me neither. 3rd and 6. And penalty as Manning just dropped the ball for a delay.
Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
He knew it.
Well, you could tell how mad he was. He threw that thing down so fast it almost looked like a fumble. He just kind of spiked it. A little, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but he knew it was on him. Very rare. I think sometimes his brain, he goes stupid. You just see him stupid and pointing to his chest. Didn't do his job and look at the clock.
Well, he's doing so many things. You can see where once in a while there's the play clock ticking down right below the game clock as Manning throws, and it's Clark. I mean, he's doing so many things at the line of scrimmage that you wonder why there aren't more delay of game penalties. I mean, that's just another thing he has to consider while he's going through all of the movements and gestures and thinking.
We talked about these receivers. Check out Pierre Garçon here, young 2nd-year receiver. He's going to come back and get him some right there. And I tell you what, all the shots that those safeties put on receivers, it feels pretty good to get one of those.
4th down to 22. And a die. Loss of 1. Well, the Colts, you think about, you know, it's a transition year with Tony Dungy gone. So you have a new head coach. You have a new defensive coordinator, and you have a new special teams coach.
Loss of 1.
And it's like they haven't missed a beat.
Well, I think they're better. I think Larry Coyer has made this defense better. They, to me, appear to have the ability to keep getting better and improving as the season goes along. And if they start to match this offense, look out.
And had the grizzled Howard Mudd. Here's a pass that's caught by Reggie Wayne. Ray Richleski is the new special teams coach for the Indianapolis Colts. And he has the look of a special teams coach, doesn't he?
No doubt about it. I bet you he has a raspy voice, too.
Yep.
Those guys, they get about 10 minutes in practice, and they are screaming the whole 10 minutes.
Their first year in the NFL. And there's a guy completely into the game. His team is up by 19. The offense is on the field. And he looks like a guy sweating bullets. Manning throws. And Collie breaks a tackle for a first down. So Collie already with 2 touchdowns tonight and sets up a first down and goal at the 9-yard line. And Manning now with 288 yards. So we thought he might begin to run the ball and take a lot of time off the clock. Instead, still throwing and 12 yards shy of another 300-yard
Here's
night.
an old Collinsworth trick. Use that umpire right there to give you a little help. If you're not quite as fast, just there you go. Just kind of rub off of him, and he can help you out every once in a while.
You could feel him coming, too, couldn't he? First and goal from the 9. Here's the dive. Gain of 4. Second and goal.
But they can even do this now, you know. I mean, now with Donald Brown and Joseph Adai, and they have the ability to kind of milk the clock some now. I mean, we're seeing the complete package. Now, you don't want to go too crazy here. We're talking about an 0-4, soon-to-be 0-5 football team, so it's obviously going to get much tougher as they go down the road. But this is a team, and you have to be impressed with what they've done with these young receivers. I'm telling you, everybody I talk to say they'll tell you this is one of the hardest offenses to learn, and yet Pierre Garçon and Austin Collie have filled in here with Anthony Gonzalez getting hurt in that first game, and they have not missed a beat.
They milked the clock as Manning takes a timeout for the equivalent of half a quarter. 8.5 to go. Indy up comfortably. Downtown Nashville, the Tennessee state capital, on this cool Sunday night. Sometimes temperature 59. Right now probably down into the low 50s, and second down and goal after the Colt timeout from the 6-yard line. Manning going to drop it underneath for a dive, but a dive is in a lot of traffic and is stopped at the 5-yard line. Third down and goal. Now, does he do what he did in pregame? He and Reggie Wayne were out here an hour and a half before the game practicing this, Chris.
Yeah, they were working on the little fade thing, and he was running it time after time, but then Reggie kind of got tired, and he said, well, how about if I just stand down here and you throw me a couple? Veteran receivers can do that. But he said he's come out and just watch Peyton and Marvin Harrison do it. He said Peyton has to invite you. It's like joining a country club or something. You have to get invited into that club, and he might have a shot at it here.
Being a sponsor and a seconder.
You heard me? Work that way.
Third and goal.
Reggie wants it.
Fake, and then he will go to Wayne with a different pattern for a touchdown.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, no touchdown. He dropped the ball. It looked like he had it, and then he dropped it.
It was very interesting. Reggie tried to sell it to the referee.
Yep.
He lost control of it and tried to act like he was spiking the ball. So instead of doing the fade, he comes back inside.
I bought it.
He's got it,
Yeah.
or it looked like he did. And then he tried to casually, like I'm spiking the ball. Good job of officiating, though, right on it.
Right there, so Vinatieri for a 23-yard field goal attempt. And that kick is good. It was a good acting job.
Sure was. Uh-oh. BY
Vince
warming
Young.
up.
Well, that'll keep the crowd semi-interested. 31-9. 31-9. We're going to see Vince Young when Tennessee gets the ball. 3-yard line. Mark Jones. up to the 22-yard line. 7:26 remaining in the fourth. Vince Young will be coming in. So the Vince Young soap opera is back in town as he comes in to finish out this game. 31-9. Vince Young taking over at his own 21-yard line. So Kerry Collins now relegated to the bench. For how long is the question? As Young on first down throws, and his first pass is short and incomplete. Tim Jennings with the coverage on Kenny Britt. 2nd and 10.
You know, it was really a very unusual story. He came out in 06 and was rookie of the year that year, and everybody goes, oh boy, it's our next star. Of course, unbelievable, winning the championship at Texas. Led the Titans to the playoffs in 07 and 08, had a bad preseason, a bad opening day, and has been on the bench since.
2nd and 10, and of course the soap opera in terms of him not wanting to come back in the game, getting hurt, and then that night after the opener, not showing up the next day at Titans camp, and Jeff Fisher had to call upon the cops to try to find him because there's some question as to whether he was going out to hurt himself or commit suicide. He winds up on the bench for the rest of the season, and now the whole question becomes with him, is he going to be the quarterback of the immediate future? On 3rd down and 5, he shakes off a sack and then uses his legs to pick up the first down.
And the crowd goes crazy. That's Vince Young. You know, that's what he's going to do, and he's going to create some plays that Kerry Collins just can't make, and this is one of them. You know, I mean, Kerry Collins has no chance about running Clint Session there, and why not?
Ran by Clint Session, and Session is still down at the 25-yard line. There is the Indianapolis linebacker needing attention. We're back. Assume Clint Session was cramping up. He came off the field under his own power, and it's a 1st down and 10 now as play resumes with 6:44 remaining in the fourth quarter. Vince Young taking over for Kerry Collins. And they run a draw right up the middle. It's Lendale White for a gain of 8.
Aren't you a little surprised that they didn't at least come up with some sort of a wildcat package for Vince Young, even if you're not going to play him all the time, to come up with something to keep him involved and keep him in the game if he is potentially your guy for the future?
There was a lot of speculation about that coming into the game, and that's incomplete. Nate Washington juggled it. There was a lot of speculation, Chris, as you know, and you would think with the success that Miami had against Indianapolis that they would be a good team to run a wildcat package against.
Yeah, and they asked Jeff Fisher before the season, and he's like, you know, he's kind of coy about it. Yeah, we're probably going to do it. And even in pregame warm-up tonight, they ran a little wildcat, I think, just to give the Colts something to think about, because it had been in the papers in Indianapolis that, oh, we're pretty sure they're going to do the wildcat against us because Miami had success with it.
3rd down and 3. And Session is back in the game, obviously, breaking up the pass, and it will be 4th down.
Here's the pregame warm-up. Check this out. They got Vince Young. This is just so the Colts would see it. They come out and flip it out there. There's no way that if you're actually going to run it, you're going to run that play in pregame warm-up. It was all just for show, so the Colts would have something else to think about before the game.
Manning getting ready. He needs 12 yards for 300. That's about the only mystery left. Hodges. And it's TJ Rushing, who's taken down in the open field immediately by Cary Williams with 5:50 left. Manning, with under 6 minutes to play, needs a dozen yards for another 300-yard night.
Well, we saw a lot of this in the first half. Anytime the Titans went to a single high safety, which meant one-on-one coverage on the outside, between Reggie Wayne and Jason McCourty, the rookie. This is what we got, and he was almost remarkable. Every time the Titans did this, tried to walk somebody down to help against the run, he found the single coverage, took advantage of the rookie. I don't know what they were tipping, but Peyton was about 4 for 4 on it in that first half and really made a huge difference in the game.
Manning tonight, 33 out of 41. 288 yards. The ball is at the 24-yard line. And Donald Brown gets taken down at the 21-yard line.
Brown.
Meanwhile, Jeff Fisher with a lot to contemplate, and I'm sure he already has. They're going to 0-5. They're going to New England. They'll have a bye week. And, of course, we talked about, for starters, what are you going to do at quarterback?
And secondarily, they have like the second oldest team, starters on offense and defense. And the reason you do that is you're 13-3 a year ago. So you say, all right, let's take another shot at it. But at 0-5, it's different. Now you have to start thinking about what are we doing in the future here.
And they have a pass defense that's been getting torched. Here is Clark. Clark up to the 27-yard line. Tackled by Stephen Tulloch, and that's a gain of 6, which gives Manning 294 on the night.
Well, I'm sure they would love to get him to 300 yards, but this may be his last opportunity at that. Hard to imagine they'd come out and throw the ball with no time on the clock, but he's going to milk this down as much as he can, but he would love to pick up this first down, and then maybe we see Jim Sorgi after that.
And this is one of the rare times you see Indianapolis huddle. They'll huddle in situations like this, where they have a huge lead and they just want to take all the time they can off the play clock. 3rd down and 6. And Manning leading 6 yards. He's going to get the first down, and that is Reggie Wayne making the catch, and that is good for 6 and a 300-yard night for Peyton Manning. So he started the season with 5 consecutive games reaching 300 yards. That is, unless he throws a screen now to lose 4 or 5, and they have to punt.
Well, all night long we've talked about the remarkable accuracy of this guy, and I mean, he just splits the numbers, and it's no surprise that he gets 300 yards on the play that they've run about 1 billion times in Peyton Manning's career, that little under route.
From the 35-yard line. And that's Collie. And a gain of 9 yards up to the 44-yard line.
Check out these throws. I mean, the remarkable thing about the guy is everything is right there. As a receiver, you just can't ask for better than that. That was the smallest window of the night there, but on the touchdown pass, just beautifully thrown, whether he has to put some touch on it, go over the top like he did to the touchdown to Austin Collie there. He has been as hot as I have seen him. And the one thing the Titans were talking about with him is how accurate he's been against man coverage this year, that he's always been so tough against the zone, but he's been just lighting up man coverage this season.
2nd and 2. Brown. And here's what you start talking about with the Colts. We've been talking about what the Titans have to think about. The Colts are off next week. Then they go to St. Louis. Hello? Then they come home against the 49ers, heavily favored. Then Houston at home, heavily favored. Then a Sunday night game against New England. There's our first promo. There it is for New England at Indianapolis on November the 15th.
Which has been probably the highlight game of the regular season, at least 7 of the 9 years this decade, huh?
Much of the decade. 1st and 10 at the 46-yard line. And now you've got Chad Simpson, who gets a carry, rare carry. And that takes us to the 2-minute warning. Indianapolis and the rookie coach Jim Caldwell, 31-9 over Tennessee. Freeney and company ready to fly home. Enjoy that bye week. And think about a trip to St. Louis in a couple of weeks with a mark of 5-0.
That Bears-Falcons game last year was remarkable. It looked like the Bears are going to win it. And And Matt Ryan brought him back with about 20 seconds on the clock for the game-winning field goal, and really probably led to his being Rookie of the Year, or a big part of it.
First time we'll see Ryan on Sunday night as Simpson carries here. And this will be another victory chalked up for the Colts in the regular season. This is going to, counting tonight, be their 14th consecutive regular season win. They ended last season with 9. They lost in the wild card game to San Diego in an overtime thriller. And now they have started this year with 5 consecutive wins. Manning, and there's Collie, who's had 2 touchdowns tonight, 1 last week. In Tennessee, they didn't run their Wildcat. Colts figured, you're going to have your Wildcat. We've got our Collie. You know, it's garbage time for us, too, Chris, at this point, right? I can say that. And a flag down.
Is it? That was mean.
That was great.
Bob Sanders over there on the sideline, and you forget they're about to bring in some of their better players.
Offense. The penalty is declined. It's 4th down.
Right. Think about that. Anthony Gonzalez and Sanders.
They've got their studs sitting on the bench right now.
Right.
Charlie Johnson didn't play in this one, their left tackle.
And the 2 corners, Hayden and Marlon Jackson.
Yep.
Not on the trip.
Good stuff. Is it too early to talk about Peyton and Eli playing at the end of the season? I guarantee it's going to be a part of the conversation this week.
You don't want to put the kibosh on it, though, do you?
Yeah, not like I did the Jets and Giants last year. I destroyed that possibility.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
Oh, sure you weren't.
Not until, at least there were 30 seconds to go. McAfee to punt. And a fair catch was made at the 18-yard line by Mark Jones. So take a look at the Manning family. There it is. Eli 5-0. Peyton 5-0. I guess Drew Brees is no longer quarterbacking the Saints, right?
Yeah, Archie's a stunt man.
Yep. And next week, Eli goes to New Orleans for a battle of unbeaten teams. Giants taking on the Saints. Peyton enjoys a week off. Thumbs up for Peyton, who won the MVP award last year on the basis of a half season. Coming off that first sack, Operation 2 procedures, in fact. And he had such a good half season that he won the MVP award. And right now, he'd have some competition. Drew Brees would also be up there in the MVP balloting.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of competition before that's all said and done. But it was interesting talking to Peyton about, we were saying how he and Eli take the fewest sacks and all that kind of stuff. He says the last thing that his dad sends him a text or basically, don't be a hero. Get rid of the ball and get down. Don't take those sacks. And boy, they do heed that call.
White, well, he didn't take the sacks tonight, but he was in on a couple of personal foul calls against Tennessee that really destroyed the Titans' chances. It would have been a 14-9 game at the half. Turned out to be 21-9, and the Tennessee Titans have begun this season 0-5. The Colts 5-0 as they beat the Titans 31-9.